that's what I mean. Like these people that are attacking those letter writers, and they're doing it anonymously, of course. They're like at odds with themselves in how they're treating the quote unquote victims of this person, because everybody in a relationship with him was a victim. And you read that article in some of his long
Sir, you are recording a podcast episode behind a paywall. You are saying awful, misogynistic, gaslighting, victim blaming bullshit behind a paywall. And you're trying to bring up the fact that people who had criticisms, valid, legitimate criticisms of the people who are the supporters who wrote of Charlie Barrett, who wrote character letters for him in defense of him, that they wanted to remain anonymous, they wanted to protect themselves because the climbing community is misogynistic, is toxic masculine, is oppressive, is racist, is transphobic. And you, as a white man with power and privilege, who's been in the climbing industry for decades, who has had a platform with all of the famous professional climbers and has like a huge network, and you're hiding behind a fucking paywall, and you want to criticize people for having valid fury of the supporters of Charlie Barrett who wrote character letters for him. A serial rapist sentenced to life in prison for his violence. But here you are perpetuating that culture. I can speak up about this blatantly, uncensored, because I'm a white woman with privilege and power too, and I'm choosing to use this platform to say what other people might not be able to say because I don't have anything to lose. I know that as a white person, my power and privilege grants me a great amount of leeway to say the things that other people would face awful consequences for if they were to say the same things. And you want to point out how those people are remaining anonymous about their criticisms about this whole topic? Because what's ultimately happening is that people are talking about how the most prominent, most powerful people in the climbing industry and the outdoor industry are predators, are violent, are complicit. And when you do that, you get ostracized. You get pushed out. You don't get opportunities. You lose money. You lose your job. Or worse, you get physically harmed. You experience verbal attacks and abuse.
Friends come out and say just that. Like, I've been used by this guy, and I feel bad about it, and I'm culpable, but we were all part of this whole kind of layered system that he sort of had of keeping people in his corner.
Yeah, he's such a mastermind. He's such a lone wolf mastermind, just acting in isolation by himself. Yeah, so does that same logic apply then to Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump? Was Donald Trump then just a victim of Jeffrey Epstein? Are we going to sit here and make excuses for Ghislaine Maxwell? Oh, was she a victim of Jeffrey Epstein too then? Were all the people connected to Jeffrey Epstein just victims? Was Lex Wessner a victim of Jeffrey Epstein? No. No. These are adults. These are willing adults capable of making choices. And they made the choice to align themselves with someone who had a known history of assault and abuse and sexual violence and rape. They don't get a pass. And you want them, you're literally spending at this point half of a podcast episode defending the people who defended Charlie Barrett instead of centering the victims and survivors of his violence? That's what you're gonna do? Just prove our point that men need to be banned from making podcasts? Speaking? Men need to be banned from using microphones? You know what? It's my fault for having ears. Yeah, it's my fault. It's my fault for having ears. It's my fault for having fingers to do research, to have found your podcast. This is all my fault, actually. I take full accountability. Yeah, I'll beat you to it. I'll beat you to it. I'll blame myself. I shouldn't have listened to your podcast episode. It was my fault. My fault for having ears. My fault for listening. My fault for having a feminist analysis. Yeah, you're right. This is actually all my fault.
Yeah, for sure. It's how it's done. I mean, if anything, this is like a case study in how it's done, how this person gets away with it. Just like the headline says, how did this person get away with it? Well, it wasn't random. He wasn't just going from one thing to another randomly. He was, like most sociopaths, he's probably highly, highly intelligent.
Where did you get this idea that he's a sociopath? Where is the doctor approved diagnosis that he's a sociopath? Where did you get that idea? You can't fathom. You're in denial. Chris. You're in denial because toxic masculinity is not sociopathy. Toxic masculinity is a choice, is a learned, conditioned behavior under white cisheteropatriarchy. And you are a prime example of it. Andrew Bisharat is a prime example. And Alex Honnold is a prime example. And James Lucas is a prime example. And most of the men in climbing are prime examples. So you and Charlie Barrett have a lot in common, actually, because you think that suffering from a mental illness excuses you of violence or explains the violence. That behavior has nothing to do with mental health issues. Like I said in my last video, I'm Team Lexapro. I have mental health issues, and I'm not going out and assaulting people. If you don't know me, hi, my name's Erin Monahan, although Chris Kalous does know me because back in the day I did an interview with Chris Kalous for the Terra podcast back when I was brainwashed by the climbing so-called quote-unquote community. But now I'm fully dedicated to poking all the holes and bullshit that exists in the climbing community. Follow along for more. I'm going to be doing an article and multiple podcast episodes most likely about all of this. I also publish exclusive content to the Patreon, patreon.com/Terra Incognita Media. I do post exclusive content to the Patreon, not because I'm a coward and don't want people to hear what I actually think, because I have no shame for anything and everything that I say and put out there, and I stand behind it fully because I believe that independent feminist media is important and it deserves to be supported. So if you want to see more independent feminist media for the outdoor industry, please consider supporting $5 a month. Appreciate your support and being along for this feminist killjoy rage train.